Have you ever found yourself stuck trying to debug shared Groovy libraries, only to realize you have to push changes to see if they work? It can be a real hassle, right? If that's you, then you're in the right place. Today, we're exploring how to debug shared Groovy libraries without the need to push every time. I totally get it. Debugging can be a tedious process, especially when you're working with shared libraries and want to maintain that dry principle. You're not alone in this struggle. Many developers face the same challenge. Here's the specific situation we're looking at. One user recently asked, "Is there a trick to debug shared Groovy libraries without pushing?" They mentioned they want to test and debug library files without the hassle of pushing changes to a Git branch. Sound familiar? Let's dive into this together and find a solution. So what could be the issue here? When working with shared libraries in Jenkins, the typical workflow often involves pushing changes to see if they work. But there are ways to streamline this process, and we'll explore those options. And stick around. I've got a great tip at the end that will help you debug your Groovy libraries more efficiently. To debug shared Groovy libraries without pushing changes, the user can utilize a local Jenkins instance. This allows them to test their library code in an environment similar to production. Next, the user should configure their local Jenkins to use the shared library. This involves adding the library to the Jenkins configuration so that it can be accessed during builds. Now the user can create a test pipeline job that references the shared library. This job will allow them to run and debug the library code without needing to push changes. Finally, the user can run the pipeline job and observe the output. This will help them identify any issues in the shared library code without pushing to the main repository. Fun fact, did you know that Groovy was originally designed to make Java easier to use? It's like having a Swiss Army knife for your coding needs. Now let's look at the answers provided by other users. One alternative approach is to set up a job that loads the shared library directly. This allows you to use the replay feature, making all your shared library steps editable without needing to push changes. This method can streamline your debugging process and enhance your workflow, especially when working on shared libraries. Now, let's dive into a different answer from another user. One alternative approach is to use the Jenkins Pipeline Unit Testing Framework. This third-party tool allows you to test your shared Groovy libraries without needing to push changes to a Git branch. Here's the tip I promised. Embrace local testing tools like Jenkins File Runner. They can save you a ton of time and frustration when debugging shared libraries. And there you have it. You now have several ways to debug your shared Groovy libraries without the hassle of pushing changes. Remember, efficient debugging can save you hours of work. If you found this helpful, hit that subscribe button for more tips, and don't miss our next video on optimizing your Jenkins pipelines.